Denver Bronco fans had a dream in 1976, a dream that a championship game would be played in Mile High Stadium. From every Eagles nest in the Colorado Rockies they came, as they've done each Sunday for 17 long seasons. Ski lodge beauties and good old regular down-home folk, all solid in support of their football team. And indeed, in 1976, Denver Bronco fans found reason to smile, for the Broncos won all but one football game before the sellout crowds in expanding Mile High Stadium. But when the Broncos left the friendly confines of Mile High and played before unappreciative fans, their fortunes took a downturn. The Broncos lost only 5 games in 1976, 4 of them on the road, and once again finished in the shadow of the Oakland Raiders. But under the White Stallion, the boys in orange and blue enjoyed their finest season ever. And though they failed to win a championship, the Broncos showed they're a team of championship personnel. Players like Otis Armstrong, a 1,000-yard rusher for the second time in 3 years, and Rick Upchurch, who tied a long-standing NFL record for most punt return touchdowns in a season. Players like linebacker Tom Jackson, who led the AFC at his position with 7 interceptions. And all of Jackson's defensive teammates, a superb unit that became one of the NFL's best. The 1976 Denver Broncos won more games than any team in Bronco history. This is the story of their season. A Rick Upchurch return often meant good field position. And with a good start, Denver's offensive line could help finish the job. Denver's forward wall suffered through a year of injury and adversity. Last year's squad included young veterans like tackle Claudia Minor and second-year man Bill Bain. First-round draft pick Tom Glassick and proven veteran Tom Lyons. Newly converted center Phil Olson and longtime Bronco Bobby Maples. But a true measure of an offensive line's effectiveness is the success of its runners. In that regard, Otis Armstrong's 1976 performance tells the real story. Armstrong can hit inside, then spin out for extra yardage. But the strong little runner can also move through tacklers, a unique combination of guile and power. Critics say Armstrong is a monotonous assortment of 8-yard carries. But in 1976, Armstrong strung together enough 8-yard carries to reach 1,000 yards for the second time in his distinguished 4-year career. Denver's ground game was a source of strength, but the air game was a sometimes thing. Steve Ramsey opened the season at quarterback, but rookies Norris Weiss and Craig Penrose finished it. The job is up for grabs in '77. But no matter who does the throwing, the receivers are big league caliber. Rick Upchurch is a receiver by trade, one capable of turning simple sideline screens into big gainers. Upchurch's cordial counterpart is second-year man Jack Dolbin, a sure-handed sprinter who Denver quarterbacks found frequently on sideline patterns, both short and long. While Dolbin worked the sidelines, veteran wide man Haven Moses, number 25, found a little luck and ample success over the middle, tallying 7 touchdowns for the season. But numero uno among Denver's pass catchers was 3-time All-Pro Riley Odoms. No matter who did the throwing, the big man always found the open space in the middle. And once in possession of the football, Odoms proved a tough cookie jar to crack. The 6'4" made the tough catches look easy. But in 1976, as always, Riley Odoms made all the catches. He ranks as one of football's 2 or 3 best tight ends. A large, fast, strong receiver with sure hands, a ton of desire, and a penchant for success. The biggest of Denver's big play receivers. In 1976, the Orange Crush was unveiled. The Orange Crush, a versatile, well-balanced defensive unit with players like Paul Smith, a one-time All-Pro whose charming manner fades at the sight of an enemy quarterback. The nimble 9-year veteran relies on speed, but line-mate Reuben Carter's game is pure power. Rounding out the front three is Barney Chavis, a coming star in the NFL who led Denver's pass rush in intimidating assaults. Denver's rush line is outstanding, but the pride of the Orange Crush is its superb core of linebackers, a talented group of young men with only 12 years combined experience. The youngest is Bob Swenson, number 51, a free agent find from the University of California, whose quickness and mobility were important in Denver's decision to switch full-time to the 3-4 defense. Number 59, Joe Rizzo, moved from his outside spot to one of the middle spots in the 3-4 without losing a step. But while Rizzo still plays with the quickness of an outside linebacker, number 57, Tom Jackson, is one, and he's becoming one of the best. Jackson can do it all. The 4th-year pro is Denver's nastiest hitter, Denver's intimidator. But unlike many bullies, Jackson is a skilled all-round performer. On special teams, he blocked 2 punts. And as a pass defender, his skills were unmatched. In 1976, Jackson led the Broncos with 7 interceptions. On most teams, a linebacker of Jackson's caliber would own center stage. But with Denver, Jackson shares the spotlight with number 53, Randy Gradishar, the blitzingest middle linebacker in football. Like Jackson, Gradishar is the complete ball player. As a middle linebacker, his first responsibility is the inside ground game. And often, Gradishar and Jackson arrive at the ball carrier simultaneously. But no matter where Gradishar plants an enemy ball carrier, Jackson soon follows, even if only to add the finishing touches. Veteran defensive back John Rouser quarterbacked Denver's last line of defense in '76, and number 46 notched 4 interceptions, 2 for touchdowns. But the longtime leader of the secondary remains safety Bill Thompson, number 36. Often the first to meet ball carriers, Thompson relishes punishing receivers as well. But the poised veteran is a polished performer who stops passes as well as people. Thompson's skill and savvy have rubbed off on second-year corner man Lewis Wright, number 20, a skilled pass defender as well as a determined tackler at the scrimmage line. But the surprise man on the scene in '76 was corner man Steve Foley, number 43. Foley replaced the injured Calvin Jones and never relinquished the job. At first, there was some concern about the ex-college quarterback's ability to hit. But the capable youngster showed he could handle men twice his size and went on to have an outstanding rookie season. A strong rush line active, intimidating linebackers and a hard-hitting, opportunistic secondary. The elements of solid defense. The Bronco defense in 1976. Special teams are a proving ground for future starters. Steve Foley got his start on the specials. But Foley was only one of many Broncos who distinguished himself rushing punters and blocking kicks. One man, reserve center Phil Olson, number 58, blocked 3 kicks in 1976. A field goal, an extra point, and a punt, earning himself a niche in football history. When Denver punted the ball, backup quarterback Norris Weiss did a capable job, while Godwin Turk, Lonnie Perrin, Larry Evans, John Schultz, and others led the assault downfield. Denver's punt and kick coverage allowed only 1 touchdown, while on the offensive side, the 5th leading scorer in NFL history, Jim Turner, punched through 81 points and once again led the Broncos in scoring. But the pride and esteem of the specialty teams revolved around the specialist of all. A magician by fame, Rick Upchurch by name. How he loved to run with the ball. But not everyone liked the magic man's tricks, so they saved for him their specialist licks. They pulled out the rug. They tore off his shirt. They hauled him down rudely and threw him in the dirt. But the little magician got back on his feet. And though shaken and bruised, he would not take defeat. You can ruin his tricks, but you can't stop the show. So they gave him the ball, and man, did he go. Divisional rivals soon learned of his skills, so they lay in waiting, then pounced for the kill. But there was more than one trick in the little man's hat, so when things got sticky, he just changed his act. A receiver by trade, a terror with the ball. But Rick Upchurch liked punt returns most of all. But Rick Upchurch's magic.
Unlike Pastorini, Anderson is about to become the NFL's all-time leading passer. Last week, Calvin Jones, Denver's 5'7" cornerback, temporarily postponed the inevitable and gave the Broncos offensive team a chance to celebrate the return of its number 1 man, running back Otis Armstrong, number 24. Armstrong gained 96 yards and was the main reason for a 7-3 Denver lead.
Following a tough opening day loss in Cincinnati, Denver returned to Mile High, and the New York Jets had the distinct misfortune of being the first team to visit. The Bronco offense erupted for 5 touchdowns and a team record 543 total yards, while Denver's blitzing defense chased Joe Namath into Wyoming. John Rausser's 39-yard interception nailed down an easy victory as Denver humbled the hapless Jets 46-3.
In Denver, there was new headgear and plenty of reason for everyone to smile, for the injury-riddled Broncos came up with a surefire antidote for their many ills. The miracle medicine is called the New York Jets. The Bronco defense hounded hapless Joe Namath into foolhardy cross-court passes like this one that resulted in a touchdown interception by John Rouser. Another look at the beleaguered Namath on the play shows just how far the mighty has fallen. All Joe Willie could do was look for a place to hide. But for the aging quarterback and the New York Jets, there was none. For the second time in 2 weeks, middle-of-the-road quarterbacks looked like all pros against the Jets. The first week, it was Cleveland's Mike Phipps. Now, it was Denver's Steve Ramsey. The journeyman quarterback embarrassed New York to the tune of 543 total yards on the day as Denver won in a breeze. When the dust had cleared, the Broncos had handed the New York Jets one of the most decisive defeats in their 17-year history. Final score, Denver 46, New York 3.
Week 3 brought an improved Cleveland Browns club to town, a team that would go on to finish 9-5. And early events suggested that Cleveland might treat Bronco diehards to a dose of disappointment. But Denver survived these early scares, and soon the game settled into a much more agreeable pattern. Newly acquired fullback Jim Kick found the end zone from 12 yards out, while running mate Otis Armstrong notched another from the 1. By the overhead route, Steve Ramsey unloaded a 36-yarder to veteran big play receiver Haven Moses, while Denver's opportunistic defenders contributed to the scoring column for the second time in 2 weeks. But the single most important contribution came from Rick Upchurch. The second-year receiver and return specialist carried 2 punts the distance and made it look easy.
Last week in Denver's Mile High Stadium, Cleveland quarterback Brian Sipe threw a significant touchdown pass to tight end Oscar Rohn. It was significant because it was the Browns' 8th touchdown pass of the season, which is one more than they could manage during all of 1975. But the surprisingly strong Denver Broncos would not allow Brian Sipe and the Browns any more joyous occasions at their expense. In fact, they held the Browns to an average of just 3 yards per play. And for the 14th consecutive game, they held their opponents to 17 points or less, while scoring or setting up almost as many themselves. Number 10, Denver quarterback Steve Ramsey completed only 10 passes in the game, but 2 of them were scoring passes. One to 9-year veteran Haven Moses, number 25, and the other to Larry Zonka's old buddy from Wyoming, Jim Kick, number 33. For the Broncos, the defense is scoring, the offense is scoring, and so are the special teams, whose most special member last week was second-year receiver returner Rick Upchurch, number 80. Returning a punt for a touchdown is quite an accomplishment. Last week, Rick Upchurch did it twice without even being touched. The Broncos are a happy bunch these days, and why not? Even without the retired Charlie Johnson and Floyd Little, Denver has scored 90 points in the last 2 games, and suddenly the future looks unexpectedly bright for the Broncos.
Denver buried the Browns 44-13. Another convincing victory. But another new challenge as the San Diego Chargers, fresh off an upset win over the Cardinals, came to town. Rick Upchurch had the remedy. After 4 weeks, the Broncos ranked second in scoring and second in defense in the entire NFL. Certainly, Denver's fast start was due in large part to the individual heroics of Rick Upchurch.
On the positive side, the surprising San Diego Chargers arrived in Denver undefeated. But Denver partisans prescribed a cure for San Diego's resurgence, and the much-improved Bronco defense made it stick. The high-flying Chargers brought the AFC's #1 ranked offense to Mile High Stadium. They left without a point. For Denver has discovered the magic of solid defense. Only the Bears have permitted fewer points in the entire NFL. And when a defense can stop an opponent cold, it opens up new avenues of attack. In this case, for a 5-foot, 10-inch, 170-pound will-o'-the-wisp named Rick Upchurch. Precious few NFL players can break a game open on special teams. Rick Upchurch is one of them. Upchurch's 92-yard punt return opened the proverbial floodgates as Denver went on to roll up 26 points while shutting out the Chargers. 12 of those points came on Jim Turner field goals. The rest came on this back-breaking 1-yard plunge by reserve fullback Lonnie Perrin. Denver's convincing win earned the Broncos a first-place tie with Oakland in the AFC West. Denver has never won a divisional title of any kind, but their fans have been patient. And who knows, maybe this time around.
And Denver's team success became too closely parallel. And when Houston and then Oakland stopped Upchurch cold over a 4-week period, the Broncos lost 3 of 4 games, a blow to their playoff dreams.
Denver's Mile High Stadium looked like a bowl of orange chrysanthemums last Sunday as the Broncos tried to regain their first-place tie with the Oakland Raiders. This Steve Ramsey touchdown pass to Haven Moses gave Denver a 10-0 lead, but the #1 offensive team in the conference came back just far enough as Ken Stabler hit on 16 of 20 passes, and the Oakland Raiders won their 14th straight game in Denver, 17-10.
But before the friendly denizens in Mile High, the Broncos gave a much better indication of how far they've closed the gap between themselves and the Raiders. A shimmering sea of orange welcomed the Broncos to their home field clash with Oakland, a picturesque panorama of fan support. That afternoon, Denver lost to the Raiders, as everyone did in 1976, but the Broncos played it tough throughout. And Bronco fans paid tribute to a team that has come a long way in just 4 short years. Before a full house in Mile High Stadium, the Denver Broncos gave an admirable account of themselves against the world champions. Bronco fans savor every success against Oakland, and in this game there were many. Statistically, the game was virtually even. But as has been the case throughout the history of this Bronco Raiders series, Denver ran out of time at just the wrong time.
Number 80 is Denver's wide receiver kick returner Rick Upchurch. Last week, Kansas City coach Paul Wiggins said of Upchurch, "There is a point where respect evolves into almost fear. And with Upchurch, we got to that point." Steve Ramsey's Bronco offense broke out of a slump with 4 touchdowns against the NFL's last-ranked defense, but in a game of nearly 1,000 yards of total offense, the Chiefs' high-caliber offense did some exploding of its own. Despite a point-a-minute shootout, there was just one player who stole the show. Rick Upchurch scored on a punt return for the 4th time this season, tying the NFL record set in 1951 by Jack Christensen. Upchurch now has the whole second half of the season to try and set a new record. Final score, Kansas City 26, Denver 35.
A mid-season showdown with divisional rival Kansas City would prove to be the turning point in Denver's 1976 season. For those too young to remember, the Chiefs-Broncos rivalry dates back to the very beginning of the AFL, and it's still a good one. But the pregame pageantry soon passed into the hard-hitting reality of an old-time feud.
Pass! Come on, turn around!
The brutal contest produced plenty of points, as Kansas City became the first team in 18 games to score more than 17 against the Broncos. But score as they did, it would not be enough. For in this game, the Broncos put all their winning elements together. An aggressive defense that put the Chiefs in some perplexing situations. A defense that twice stopped Kansas City drives at the goal line. A potent ground attack that rushed for 192 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dangerous big play receivers who gathered in 16 passes, including the game winner. And of course, Rick Upchurch. Denver's overwhelming team effort proved too much for the Chiefs, as the Broncos scored a convincing victory. Back home, the Broncos went after their best divisional record ever. Against Tampa Bay, the Orange Crush cleaned house, as defense and offense combined for 38 points in 8 minutes to destroy the Buccaneers 48-13.
Meanwhile, in Denver, the other expansion team did not fare so well. Tampa Bay was ahead in the 3rd quarter, but the Broncos, led by Otis Armstrong and quarterback Steve Ramsey, scored 38 straight points to put the game far out of reach of the woebegone Buccaneers. Denver's defense came up with 3 touchdowns of their own, more than enough to win the game for the Broncos. As has become almost routine in Denver victories, the special teams were indeed special, especially punt returner Rick Upchurch, number 80. Rick Upchurch knew he had his record-setting 5th punt return touchdown of the season, but a clipping call canceled the score. It was just about the only thing that went wrong for the Broncos as they won big, 48-13.
In Week 10, Denver's defense again keyed a divisional victory. Tom Jackson returned an errant pass 46 yards for a touchdown, while the defense shut out the Chargers for the second time in 1976.
Denver's playoff hopes got off to a shaky start. The usually reliable Rick Upchurch soon made up for his bobble as he streaked 59 yards with this Steve Ramsey pass to put the Broncos on top to stay. The Denver defense, which has given up the 3rd fewest amount of points in the NFL this season, was true to form as they closed down the end zone and left the Charger air game in a nosedive. The nosedive turned into a crash landing when number 57 linebacker Tom Jackson intercepted this pass and turned it into the final score of the day, capping the Broncos' 6th win of the year, 17-0.
The following week, the New York Giants took their turn against the Orange Crush, and they too came up short. Denver played well enough to beat the Giants, and though their 14-13 victory was far from an artistic triumph, nonetheless, the Broncos mustered enough points to earn the decision. After 3 straight wins, the Broncos stood 7-4 and had a very real shot at the playoffs. Coming up, a showdown with the New England Patriots in Foxborough.
The Denver Broncos specialize in stopping the other guy. Last week, the Bronco defense held New York in check while Otis Armstrong and company controlled the football. Armstrong rushed for 97 yards, but the Bronco attack could eke out only 14 points. Still, it proved to be enough, for what little forward progress New York could muster came from their special teams. New York did manage an offensive touchdown later in the game, but in typical Giant fashion, they blew a conversion. Chalk up loss number 10 for the G-men.
Away from Mile High Stadium, the Broncos had known little success against tougher opponents. The New England Patriots oozed pregame confidence, while Denver arrived stiff and apprehensive. It was no contest from the opening whistle. New England stopped the Broncos cold. Then the Patriots turned loose their potent ground attack. The Broncos were never competitive as New England piled up 38 points and erased Denver's last playoff hope. But defeat gives birth to change. The Broncos closed out the season with rookie quarterback Craig Penrose running the offense, and Denver rebounded for a big win over the Chiefs. For the first time in the history of the Bronco franchise, Denver swept the home and away series with Kansas City.
rookie from San Diego State was in the hot seat as the playoff-bereft Broncos hosted the Kansas City Chiefs. Penrose took charge immediately by hitting number 25, Haven Moses, for 8 yards and a 7-0 first quarter lead. Then, Kansas City punter Gerald Wilson learned that punting can be painful. The Broncos have been intimidators on defense all season, and last week was not the exception. Although the Chiefs made it close on a Mike Livingston pass to tight end Walter White, they could not hold back the inevitable. Performing like a seasoned veteran, Penrose took a deep drop and fired over the middle to Riley Odoms, whose great catch and run helped Denver gain victory 17-16. Meanwhile, with Walter Payton, number 34, slipping free through secondaries, the Chicago Bears returned to respectability this season. Against Denver last Sunday, Payton scored once and the Bears' defense contributed another as Chicago built a comfortable 14-0 lead at the half. While the Bears have realized an improved season around such talents as Walter Payton and the individuals who make up their defense, the team they were up against on this day, the Denver Broncos, have similarly put together a year of which to be proud. Together, the Broncos have punched out the best season in their history, showing much in the way of character along the way. So, when they trailed Chicago, it wasn't surprising to see them battle back and tie the score. Denver's Rick Upchurch, number 80, brought it to 14 apiece. And on their next series, the Broncos produced the go-ahead touchdown on a nifty burst up the middle by Otis Armstrong, number 24. One later score closed out a 28-14 Denver victory and ended a season that affirmed the best is still yet to come for both the Broncos and the Bears.
On to the season finale in Chicago, where Walter Payton and the Chicago Bears jumped out to an early lead. But it would not stand up. With Craig Penrose injured, another rookie quarterback, Mississippi's own Norris Weiss, took the reins of Denver's attack with his own homespun style. In an encouraging season-ending effort, Denver rushed for a team record 356 yards and rallied for a come-from-behind 28-14 win. Further proof that this is a class football team, a team with championship personnel. Only a playoff spot separates Denver from Oakland, and some future Bronco team will bring a championship game to Mile High. The 3 winning seasons in this team's history have all come since 1973, and last year's squad was the best yet.